Get ready for a great show.
Black space is a place for us. Black space is a place
Real
for us.
people with real issues. With real issues.
Discussing real topics.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Hello, I'm George Middleton, your host this evening on this podcast episode of Black Space Live. The topic and title of our show today is Part 4, Who Hurt You? A conversation about relationship trauma. I would like to take this time briefly to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. In other words, don't be selfish with this content. Share the love. Let's introduce our panelists today. You've seen them before. We've been on before, and they really bear no introduction, but we are just going to familiarize yourselves, the listening audience, with who they are with just a brief hello. Let's start with Dr. Holmes.
Good evening. How's everyone? And I am happy to be back again to talk about this most important topic that we can, that never ends.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Well, welcome back, Dr. Holmes.
Thank you.
Let's go to Zuri.
Hey everybody, I'm Zuri. Glad to be on the show again.
And China.
Hi guys, China here, and I'm happy to be having this discussion with you guys.
And China, share with the viewers and listeners what you were doing just 5 minutes before we came on.
See, George, you didn't even have to do that. You ain't no good, George. You ain't right. We're gonna keep it cute.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, you were just only trying to be healthy, do the healthy thing. So I thought you wanted to share that with the world. But we'll come back to that at a later date.
Got it.
I'd like to take this time, however, before we get started, to briefly encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. You can catch us on Black Space Live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and Spotify. And you can catch us on Anchor FM, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. So let's jump into it. We had a great stirring discussion in part 3 with some prior, with it. It was a different cast, but we had Zuri's part of it, and it was really thought-provoking, high energy, confrontational, but with respect. And I thought it was really well done because we really minded out. And man, it'd be great to have that total cast and this cast together because you all are strong personalities as well. What I want to do is pick up on a couple of themes that we left off with in part 3. One, Stacy had made this comment that a woman's healing can begin when she is allowed to be a woman. And I thought that was such a powerful statement. I wanted to mind that with the question, if a woman is allowed to be a woman, what is the definition of a woman? The second theme, if we get to that, was from was it Desi? I think it was Desi. And she stated that it's time for men to stop being coddled. So I thought that was a pretty powerful statement. So let's begin with a woman's healing, and that the solution or the prescription for her healing is to be empowered to just authentically be a woman. If we agree with that premise, we would have to be able to agree on or be on the same page on what is femininity. So I went back. I just jumbled up my papers. Hold on a moment. I went back to a previous show to just bring that topic up. Give me a minute I started moving stuff around. Messing with China. I got myself messed up. Hold on.
My
Right.
apologies. My
That's what I get for trying to mess with you, China. All right. So the article is titled "Behind Every Masculine Man is a Feminine Woman," and it explores the concept of embracing femininity while rejecting feminism. And feminism is the advocacy for women's rights and the equality of the sexes. So this article suggests 5 simple ways for women to pursue femininity. I'm going to just do the bullet points, and then we can go into detail after I put them out. First one, to women: wear a skirt. Second, relax and let men take the lead. Third, embrace children. Fourth, avoid toughness. And fifth, build men up. So, who wants to jump in and give their perspectives for or against the premise and these 5 bullet points? All right, since nobody's clamoring first, we're going to go to Dr. Holmes. You're just going to get it started right off the bat.
I was going to say, I think she should start off first.
Okay.
Right off
So
the bat.
look, you see me over here trying to grab paper and a pen, right? So that I can keep my thoughts in order on them bullets.
You want me to do them again?
Yeah, give me those bullets right quick again so I can make sure I address each one of those.
Oh, you want to address each one. You want to, that's how it's going.
Each one?
That's how it's going. I want to address each one of these. Okay. The 5 bullet points.
One by one?
Mm-hmm.
Wear a skirt, Dr. Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Relax and let men take the lead. That's the second bullet point. Third bullet point. Embrace children. Fourth, avoid toughness. And fifth, build men up.
Okay, I thought that's what I heard, that 5th bullet point.
All right.
And these are supposed to be the 5 recommendations for a woman to
pursue femininity. And again, this is based on the premise coming off the tail end of the previous episode, that a woman's healing comes through her empowerment of becoming a woman, of just having to be a woman. You know, our history, especially particular to our community, our women have had to hold it down on both sides. So they've had to cover all of the bases. And what was offered here as a prescription was, if a woman can just be allowed to just stay in her lane and be her authentic feminine self, That's her source to healing.
Okay. Well, I'll just say for some of these bullets, being an authentic woman or living in femininity is definitely not dependent on what you wear. But a lot of these bullet points are very much dependent on someone else, and I don't think femininity or being an authentic woman is dependent on someone else. I don't think it's as superficial as uh, being limited to what you wear. I don't think that takes away from who you are as a woman. Um, you brought up something from a prior show that I think you said Stacy said was about coddling men, but then one of the bullet points almost uh, recommends you still do that, depending on how people build men up. Sometimes that can be coddling for some, so it just depends on how people define building a man up and being very clear about the boundaries or the line between building up and coddling a man. Um, I think for most women, naturally, embracing children comes naturally. Nurturing and taking care of other people is historically just a part of womanhood, being, a woman just in general, whether that's living in femininity or authenticity, just nurturing other people are just innately a part of women taking care of everyone else. So I don't think that's something that I think that's something that's innate to women just in general, not necessarily just tied to being living out in femininity, but just inherent. Um, and avoiding toughness, again, is still something that is dependent on environment and circumstances. Um, I'm sure there are plenty of women that don't intentionally go out in this world feeling like they have to be tough, but circumstances and environments impact how they have to show up in the world, whether that's tough or survival mode, whatever the case may be. So a lot of these bullets, I mean, aside from the skirt, being able to relax and let a man lead still depends on a man also being and living out and understanding what it means to lead and what it means to be a man, whatever that is for a man to define. And you can speak to that, George. But for a woman to be able to be safe and secure and allow a man to lead, he has to demonstrate he has the ability to do that. That just doesn't, you don't just get that a woman that just follows just because of your sex. You have to demonstrate some level or some type of behavior that makes her secure and feel safe enough that she can relax and allow that man to be able to lead and trust that he ain't gonna lead them in a hole. So that's my 2 cents on those 5 bullets.
Well, thank you for that very detailed breakdown.
They're interesting.
Let's move to Zuri. Zuri, what say you?
I agree with all the bullet points except for the part about wearing a skirt. I don't think I thought that was like a kind of a little bit off, that wearing a skirt makes you feminine. I mean, it doesn't even help, but I don't think really being feminine majority has nothing. I'm not going to say it has nothing to do with how you dress, but I mean, that plays a part in it. But I believe, like, I was just reading this thing and I read it a few weeks ago and I was going to read it to you guys, and I believe it because it resonates with me very strongly. It says, strong feminine energy attracts everything. She is a divine mirror that walks this earth. Some people will get triggered by her. Some people will get inspired, and some will get confused. She is secure with herself, and she knows who she is at a soul level. She is centered in her purpose. People who are still longing for a deeper connection with their self will look at her with desire and attraction. Who she is and where did she come from? Many will obsess with the idea of having her intimately. They may feel as if she is their soulmate when she is nothing more of a reflection of pure love. She shows a person what they are capable of being and receiving, and feminine energy attracts everything. She doesn't attract, even if she does attract weak men, I don't like to call them men, maybe boys. that they know that, that's not it. And the resting in, what was the last bullet point about resting in her femininity?
Let's see. Relax and take the lead. Avoid toughness. Build men up. Embrace children.
Yeah, I feel more women do need to, like Danetta said, that more women do need to embrace children now. Just having children is just a thing now. Nobody wants to embrace them. Nobody wants to nurture them. And I'm like, she's like, that was in the past was a norm. Now it's really not. And as far as letting the men lead, let's be honest, all men can't lead, but you have to choose the right ones that can lead. Why would you choose a man that already has red flags and allow him to lead you into a hole?
Mm.
And then the part about, and then just like you said, resting your energy, a lot of the circumstances that a lot of us women go through, a lot of us create those circumstances. So we have to kind of get to the bottom of that as far as let's stop creating these circumstances. So that way you can, because even if you do have to avoid being tough. I mean, I understand situations call for it, but most of the time when we do have to use toughness, it's a situation that we created on our own, where we decide we do want to be the man and the woman, when you can just decide to be the woman and not the man.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that very unique perspective. China.
I don't think she could hear you. China?
She's asking a question.
Just sitting pretty.
I'm sorry. It just blacked out. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Anything. So I guess it's my turn. So I'm sorry. So I will just go over a few of the bullets. But first I would like to ask George, who wrote this? A man or a woman?
This particular article, I have to look for the title of the article.
Okay.
Is behind every masculine man is a feminine woman. And I would hazard a guess that was written by a woman.
Okay.
I would assume
but
so.
I'm sure somebody's going to Google that and find out who that author is.
I was just curious.
Who does it sound like it's written by to you? Does it sound like more like a man wrote that?
Well, see, that's the thing. I actually have a book that was given to me, and it was suggested that I read it to, explore different viewpoints, right?
Okay.
On this topic. So that's why I asked. But,
okay, gotcha.
Just a few things. Avoid toughness. I don't understand why toughness is always associated with being masculine. Just from the conversations that we're having right now, Zuri is not a weak woman. Miss Holmes is not a weak woman. And myself, I'm not a weak woman. But that does not mean that I'm not feminine. So I don't understand why sometimes that's always associated with being, a feminine woman. My mother was a strong woman. She was tough, but she was still feminine. So I don't understand that part. Build men up. The audience that I'm speaking to, in regards to relationships, I am 33 years old. I'm not interested in building anyone. My those stages for me are you should be beyond that in my stages, right? So you need to come to me ready and whole, because I'm coming to you ready and whole. So you're not going to have to build me up. You're not going to have to whip me into place and train me to be a woman, because that's who I naturally am. And that's what I've developed into, right? Men taking the lead. They've already spoke on that. I'm not going to follow nonsense. And wearing skirts. Now, I will say that as far as wearing skirts, I look at that as though just being soft, dressing soft. It doesn't necessarily have to be a skirt, in my opinion, but I can see that. But the others, not so much.
Interesting. Okay. So we have a consensus on the first two. with most everything except for wearing a skirt. And in your case, China, the skirt is not so much an issue. You kind of interpret that as some softness. But these other areas, you're not really feeling that. You're not really resonating with that.
Not wholly, no.
Not wholly. Okay. And that's good. Okay. This makes for a really great discussion of differing perspectives. So let's go to the easy one, wearing a skirt. Now, let me read the rationale behind this person who's suggesting these bullet points. Wear a skirt. This person writes, I can almost see the eye rolls and hear the groans. But pushing the leggings or mom jeans aside and reaching for a dress or skirt with regularity does wonders. So with regularity implies that that's not all of the time, just a part of the regular, daily activities or weekly.
George, I would kind of agree with that since you said it to that sense. Like you said, not every day, but regular, like more often. Yeah. I think when you do wear a dress sometimes, or you do wear, a long skirt, it does make you feel more womanly a little bit. And back in the day, I don't know how far back that goes. Women didn't wear jeans.
And you really speaking right into her next sentence, which she states, or he states, speaking from personal experience, not only does wearing a skirt, man, who is that unprofessional person with the phone on doing, who would be doing that?
Who knows?
Note to producer, fire that unprofessional, incompetent fool. Not me though. But the writer says, speaking from personal experience, not only does wearing a skirt make a woman feel and act more like a lady and rarely underdressed, it also seems to make men treat women with more respect. Have you all found that experience to be true? Do you feel received differently, perceived differently, treated differently when you're in a dress, or is that just something this person's?
No.
Okay.
Not me, but if they would have threw in heels in there, it's a different conversation.
All right, tell me about the heels. What do the heels do?
Myself, I don't wear a lot of dresses, but I wear a lot of heels and pumps. And it's a different feeling when you put put those shoes on, those tennis shoes on, versus when you have those heels on. You walk a certain way, you move a certain way. So I definitely understand that. That's why I said that I took it more so dressing soft altogether. So
as a man, I would have to concur that heels definitely have an impact. It might motivate me to break that one-time rule, Dr. Holmes.
What's the one-time rule?
What's that?
Oh, let Dr. Holmes tell you about the one-time rule.
Oh no, we gotta dive into that. What's the one-time rule?
Dr. Holmes, boy, Dr. Holmes.
Don't do that, George. You set yourself up. Do not do that. Mm-mm.
Okay, so China, here's what had happened. So what had happened was, we were on a previous show. We had a great discussion, and I was sharing my favorite country song by Toby Keith.
Okay, I like him.
Yes, I love him. Yeah, I love him. And the song is titled "I Ain't As Good as I Once Was, but I'm as good once." I just forgot it. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. That's what it is. And so Dr. Holmes said, she said a bunch of stuff.
No, be clear about what you added in about that one time, because there
What
was a
did
time frame for that once. There
what
was a
did I?
time frame attached to that once.
What was that phrase, Dr. Holmes?
You weren't. It wasn't as good, but for that once, it was a like it that one time would be like a
It'll
good
knock you out. It'll
for
knock
a
you
few
out.
minutes or something. And I looked
Okay.
like,
All right.
Dr. Holmes was talking about, you want me to do all this for that one time?
All right.
Oh,
now.
she was taking me through the ringer, man. Yeah, so wait a minute, Mr. Middleton. You want me to do this, that, the other thing, and how many times I'm gonna get? One time? Oh yeah, it was good. We have to go and replay that. It was priceless. It was priceless. Yeah. So anyway, I digress. But yeah, so heels can definitely motivate a brother, no doubt about it. But I think, as Zuri alluded to, it's not so much wear a dress all the time. It's just part of your presentation through the course of a week, and it allows the chosen man in her life to see that feminine side of her enough to be connected.
I agree.
Okay. So if we're good with that, and it seems like the next area, Dr. Holmes seemed to have some dissonance with this concept of avoiding toughness and coddling men. That she seems to think that the avoiding toughness is, or no, not avoiding toughness. That was, you weren't feeling that all the way, but it was building men up and coddling men. So let me read what building men up is, what the writer said about that.
okay.
Men are torn down plenty these days. Don't contribute to that tearing down by bashing them yourself. Instead, build up the men around you. Thank them for the ways they protect you. Compliment them on masculine behavior. Let them hold the door or carry boxes for you. Even if you think you can handle them just fine on your own. Unfortunately, these actions are countercultural and could get you labeled a misogynist, even if you're a woman. Swimming upstream is never easy, but those who rise to the challenging of doing so are the ones who are truly bold and brave conduits of change. So if you as a woman want to change the world, cast off the bonds of feminism and instead embrace femininity. So when she broke down build men up, to me, that didn't sound like training them or developing them into men. It sounds to me more like reinforcing men for what they do.
Well, it was a poor choice of words, because building up,
Showing
So
gratitude.
showing appreciation, that would have been a better frame than saying building a man up. Because anytime you say build someone up, people are automatically not thinking about showing appreciation, which is a part of some people's character development. Being appreciative, being grateful for what someone does, or allowing a man who was raised that way and is still in that space, who wants to hold doors, or who walks on the outside of you when you're walking along the street. There are men who are inherently doing that. So I agree. There are women out here who go out of their way to, which I think falls on that line of feminism, when it's like you have to go out of your way to tell a man, I don't need you to walk on the outside. I don't need you to carry a box. But outside of that, there are women who I think allow, if that's how a man is raised, who are attracted to men who do those things, who open doors, who, do protective gestures, like make sure they're on the outside closest to the street if you're walking, thanking them for the things that they do. I think that's just a part of some people's character. I think when you start talking about feminism, that gets brought up in a negative light, because you're talking about women who go to the extreme of discounting those behaviors as if it's a reflection of they aren't equal or they're not allowed to be at the same level if you do those things, or I have to show you that I'm just as strong. Not all women are,
Dr. Holmes, are you a feminist?
no, I'm not.
Do you agree agree with the writer that men are regularly torn down through the trials and tribulations of life?
I think some men are, yes, torn down. All men, no.
Give me some examples of what you would classify as that type of action toward men.
I think Black men are just have a, if we're talking about men in general, then I would definitely introduce race to say that Black men or men of color in general, I think with everyday life are experiencing or faced with more adversity that tears them down on a daily basis.
Just give me maybe 2 or 3 examples.
I would say work, just going out in the world, work. And then I would say in relationships as well. I see it in relationships and I see it at work as well, where they're experiencing, where they have to deal and fight extra hard in work related settings, and then come home or go home in relationships and still have to have that same level of fight just to be afforded some of the basic things that all human beings want, just acceptance, love, appreciation. They're fighting against that not only in the workplace, but then even in home life.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another question, but I'm going to open this up to everybody. Do you feel that our women today bash our men today?
So, I never like talking in extremes. So yes, I do think some women do bash men. I do think, yes, I've seen it. Is it all women? No. Does it happen in certain areas? Does it happen at certain socioeconomic levels? Absolutely. I see it happen in some areas more than I see in others. But yes, it definitely happens. But there's also a proportion where that doesn't happen, where they aren't being torn down.
China?
I agree with that. As far as our Black men's treatment at home and at the workplace, it's as though they're always trying to prove themselves. But I also think that, Black women, we're also having to prove ourselves. And as far as women bashing men, hurt women will bash men if they're hurt. We are a product of our environment as well, so that plays a factor too. But for the most part, that only comes from hurt women or, a different class of woman.
Zuri?
Yes, I would agree with all of them that nowadays our Black men are bashed. There's a small amount of us that support and encourage them, but the majority of them bash them. And I'm like what China said, the majority of the bash are women that make bad decisions in life. And instead of taking accountability, they bash the men. And like, I feel like they aren't appreciated. Like Danita said, even at work, home, the court system, they're fighting. And in relationships, in some relationships, they can't even make a decision without, Black man is always majority challenged by the Black woman before anyone else on like daily basis. And I'm like, Danita, I see it all the time. You see it all the time on social media. Where nobody, like they say, women, everybody uplifts the woman, but who's uplifting them?
Okay, so let's go into that next most related point of avoiding toughness. Let me read what the writer says on that. There are definitely times when women must become mama bears in protecting the things near and dear to their hearts. But aiming that toughness towards men through bossiness will only tear apart the few shards of masculinity left in society. A sweet and gentle attitude, however, boosts both feminine and masculine attitudes in their respective sexes. So, what this writer is saying is that the woman can get much more with her femininity and softness than with her toughness as it pertains to the relationship. What are your all's thoughts on that, Dr. Holmes?
So I think China made a
That's
great
very
point
true.
when she first spoke about that particular bullet and why is it always associated with it being more of a masculine trait. Even after hearing her breakdown of how she defines avoiding toughness, I really think it depends on the type of man that you're dealing with. Because I've come across a lot of men who um, are in healthy relationships, and one of the central things for those healthy men who are not intimidated by a secure woman, a strong woman. One of the things that they always say, "Oh, I like someone that's not a doormat, someone that challenges me," right? So depending on that man, he either defines it as I appreciate someone that will challenge me, that helps me grow, versus she used the term specifically bossy. I've come across men who are not as secure, and any level of independence or strongness that's depicted in a woman is seen as masculine. But when I've seen or come across men who have an issue with it, it's typically a man who's insecure. It's not a man who is secure in himself and who's outwardly saying, I'm looking for a woman who holds her own. I appreciate and love a woman. It still doesn't take away from her femininity. And that's the experience that I've seen with men who have said some of these things where people describe it as toughness. It really depends on that man and how he perceives those things in a woman. But I still don't think that that necessarily takes away from her being feminine, because that man sees it or views it particularly different. I think that's something that he has to own in and of himself, but that doesn't take away from a woman's femininity because she's tough or independent or because she's strong. How a person talks to him, if you want to say, somebody will label somebody bossy who's a leader. Oh, she's bossy. But every time I've heard that has been from someone or a man who has issue with an outspoken woman. Doesn't make her bossy, but if she's outspoken, if she doesn't just accept being talked to any type of way, then it can be perceived as, oh, she's bossy or she doesn't listen. So I've seen those perceptions from men that have played out on both sides. And it really depends. I've seen that it really depends on who that man is and how secure he is within himself, how he perceives a woman, some of these characteristics in women.
Zuri, what say you?
What's the bullet again? One more time, because it kept going in and out.
The bullet point of avoid toughness, and I'll read this again. I'll read it again. The writer says, there are definitely times when women must become mama bears in protecting the things near and dear to their hearts. But aiming that toughness toward men through bossiness will only tear apart the few shards of masculinity left in society. A sweet and gentle attitude, however, boosts both feminine and masculine attitudes in their respective sexes.
I agree with that. I've seen where a lot of feminine women do get their way. They attract almost everything for themselves and their mate. And I think when they say bossy, I just feel like what Danita says, you can be a leader, but sometimes you need to know when to turn that off. If the man wants to lead, and most truly masculine men, as we say, are secure in who they are, they don't want a bossy woman because they know that they can take the lead. They don't have the they want you to be able to hold your own around or so, but there's still, like you said, even in the way that you speak about it, there's ways that you can talk about it, the tone that you use, and being more feminine. When you're around a masculine man, a lot of that stuff that you don't have to be tough. You don't have to do any of that. You just sit back, relax, and be feminine. That masculine man handle it for you, and other people already know that they're not even going to direct any negative energy towards you because that masculine man is already going to handle it. So you don't even have to worry about even being tough at all. And as far as, yes, women will go as far to protect, I'm pretty sure, their children as the cubs. But if there's a man in the picture, you don't have to go to that strong extent like you would if one wasn't around, So I agree with him, just being more feminine. And then, yeah, we as women, yeah, if we're leaders, I feel like I'm a leader, but when you're around another man that's lead, just know it's time to lead and when it's not. He's not going to need you to lead around all the time. Yes, you can, like they say, as a woman, if you're feminine, even in your spiritual, a man protects you physically, you protect the man on the spiritual realm. So there's different ways that we complement each other in different ways with things. So I would agree with the bullet. Okay. Feel like women, like she says, toughness where being strong doesn't have to do with femininity, but there's a time and a place for certain things when you are with the masculine man. You wouldn't have to be as super strong as if you were with the weak man, if that makes sense.
Okay. China?
And a lot of us wouldn't have to be tough, like I say as well, if we weren't in certain situations.
Okay. China?
I agree with that, Zuri. No one wants a pushover, right? I've actually heard men say, just, in general conversation out and about, oh yeah, oh, she's tough over there. I like her. She's tough. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's associated in a negative way. The bullet point I understand, but it's like the breakdown of it, that's more aggressiveness, right? No one wants anyone aggressive. But I've actually heard people say, oh, she's tough, or, she's not going to take anything.
Yeah,
you got to come at her correct. I've actually had people in my hometown to ask about me, and someone says, oh, no, you don't even worry about it. Sit this one out. Leave that one alone, because they know they're not ready for it, right? And I'm not saying it, I'm just being honest. So... And again, it's actually started out with the mama bear will protect her cubs. Sometimes we are put into positions where we have to be tough and we don't want to be tough. But that's also when you are around a strong masculine man, he will allow you and you will feel comfortable with softening up and sitting back. Because when a strong man is around, when a strong man speaks, we listen. We listen. Or I do.
Okay. And also, okay. I was going to add to what China was saying about when she says she's here, as men say stuff, and she's this, or for that. And I think even as a woman, sometimes you don't even have to come off as tough. It's the way that you say things, the tone of it, and you don't even have to even be near aggressive. And most men will already know, like, she's not playing those kinds of games. You don't have to be foul. You don't have to act like you're tough. Say what you mean and say it. And they know.
That's it. They do.
The premise of this part of the conversation is based on the concept that for women to be healed, embracing and being empowered to be their authentic feminine selves is that path through. So to be healed means you need to be brought back to your state of wholeness in today, collectively. And collectively doesn't mean everybody, but collectively, how would you rate the state of health for our women on a scale of 1 to 10? Dr. Holmes.
Physical and mental health. What are we talking about?
It's all connected, physical and mental health,
Yeah.
in terms of, especially in terms of this perspective of trauma and relationships. How
is one being the worst or the best? 10 being the
one
worst?
being one being negative, 10 being very healthy. On a collective state, I'm sure that we have pockets here and there, but as a collective state, how would you rate the health of our women today?
Mm. 6.
China.
Ooh, honestly, I'm gonna give it I'll give it a strong 5, and I'll explain it. But
Okay, we're gonna break this down in a minute. Zuri.
I was gonna I was gonna give it maybe like about a 3-4. We in trouble. I'm just keeping it 1,000.
Okay, so we'll start with Dr. Holmes. What would it take to make that 6 and 8?
I would say focusing, well, because I'm in healthcare, so disparities, just looking at the disparities and where they exist in healthcare, access, and awareness to, I would say, the areas that are trying to find the best way to put this, the areas that are typically targeted and have access to the least amount of resources. I think increasing awareness and access is the only way that it's going to move that needle. I kept in my mind going 5, 6. I feel like we made it a little bit beyond the halfway point when it comes, but it still exists. But I think a lot of what we're plagued by is, even if we can help people become aware, and take more ownership of their health and things they can do to be healthy, we still have the barriers of systems like school systems and other types of systems that are not in line with that. We still have systems that contribute to, obesity. Money is more important than health. So how somebody can make a buck and how, stores are strategically placed in specific areas and where people have access to healthier foods all play a part in how that needle is able to move any further. So even with awareness, we still have to have access. People have to have access.
So you're seeing to move that up from a 6, you're seeing it from a systemic perspective more than a interpersonal relationship perspective.
I think it's both. You can't.
So from an interpersonal relation perspective, what would it take to move that up to an 8?
I don't know what other folks on the panel's experience is. Where I am geographically located, I think at an interpersonal level, I've seen an increase in us talking about ways that we can improve health, right? Overall health, women's health, just health in general. In my area, we've even, we have mobile units to get to people, right? So even trying to address access to contribute to that. Being more in grassroots community organizations, right? Trying to get access to people, transportation resources to get people from wherever they are to get better health, get connected to better health resources, mental health, everything. But at the interpersonal level, what I see is some of the family systems are a major barrier. Some of the family cultures are a major barrier to even moving that needle and helping people, no matter how much awareness is there. Even if you provide access, people still got to want it. So there's some level of personal accountability as well, in helping to move that needle. I don't think we talk about that much. We kind of talk around it, but that's another part of it as well. In order to move that needle, people have to want it.
Okay. All right. We're going to come back and explore that some more. China, what would it take to move your 5 up to a 7?
George, honestly, I just think we have to do better. We have to do better. We've lost touch with important things, with things that don't even matter. You have women going to the DR and dying on a table because they feel as though they don't measure up to a certain level in society. You have women, Black women, granted, we're not all born with full lips and big cheeks and the
All that.
biggest body and all,
Right.
all the good things that makes us a woman, right? We
Mhm.
have our Black women going to these offices altering their face. We
Yeah.
got one that God gave us, right? We
Mhm.
have women going through all of these measures to change
Mhm.
themselves, to appease other people because they're not pleased with themselves.
Mhm.
And this is Black Space Live. I'm not talking about the Caucasian ladies, love them, but I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about our Hispanic ladies, love them. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about us.
Mhm.
We have to do better. We cannot continue. I know I'm going on a rant, but we cannot
No,
continue
go ahead.
mama number 3, 4, 5, and 6. We cannot continue down those routes because our children are suffering from it.
Mhm.
Our children are suffering from it. We just have to do better. And I know I gave it a solid 5 because there are women who are, they love themselves.
Right.
They're taking care of business. They're doing their thing. But then we got a lot of women who aren't. Just being honest, we have a lot of women who aren't. So as a whole, I just really wish that we could just do better. We need more fathers in these homes so they can show their daughters how to be treated, how to be loved. It's so much that I think that we could improve on to move that number up from a 5 in my book.
China, that was really powerful. It was well stated. Definitely. There's no argument there on that. Yeah, that's pretty sobering. Zuri, what would it take? You was the worst score of all. You said you're going to keep it 1,000, and that's exactly what you're doing. So, what would it take just to move up from a 3 to any level? What are you thinking? What are you seeing?
Both everything of what Danita said, especially China touched on almost everything I was getting ready to say.
Yeah,
Everything
I'm
to
sorry.
that. Everything.
I'm sorry.
Must have been that Panda Express. Oops.
Grilled.
That grilled Panda Express. Remember, we talked about the health. Did we not just talk about the health aspect? See?
You see, Dr. Holmes is right. She had your back all the way too, boy.
She did.
Yeah.
So
China
go ahead,
touched
Zuri.
on everything and some other things that I would add on to, like definitely everything that she said, because our attitude, more self-love on ourselves, loving ourselves genuinely for who we are, like she says, not going to other countries, getting our bodies did, where we don't even have strong sisterhoods. We don't have community. We need to make better choices, take accountability for the situations that we create. Like she says, we're causing so much harm to our children and don't even realize it, trying to prove a point to men. Most of us don't like to be healthy. and we feel like being overweight is somebody should just accept us as we are. No, that's not it. We don't want to work out. Like she said, we'd rather go get a BBL. We don't even, like she said, we don't even like our God-given features that were given to us for whatever reason it was given to us. We all come in different sizes. Nobody said you have to be super skinny and you don't, and none of us are all, everybody's not skinny, everybody's not thick. We all come in different sizes and shapes, but take care of yourself. We don't even take care of ourselves anymore. So like I said, just changing the tone, stop being so masculine about things. And a lot of us need to have more understanding. We don't even have understanding about things. We don't want people to correct us on anything that happens in our life. Like a sister can't even correct another sister without other women jumping down your throat. You can't even correct, like say you have a really good friend, you can't even correct her on things she's doing without worrying about the friendship failing.
Yes,
when you're only doing it out of genuine love.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women you really can't even be who you truly are even around other women, because other women get offended by it. Mm-hmm. And we have to start healing. And like she says, and it really starts from home, because a lot of us come from homes where we've been taught from a young age that you don't need a man. Just go be the breadwinner, be independent. We want to chase the bag. We want to use and abuse men instead of letting them help us out. We have men that genuinely want to help us out, but we're trying to use them, or we want to call them weak when they're trying to, or if they're trying to correct us, we take it in the wrong notion instead of them trying to help us become better individuals. So that's why I feel like we have a long ways to go. I think we as Black women have a long ways to go with each other first before it even involves men.
I agree. And, sometimes, certain subjects are a little touchy, gay, cosmetic surgery, things like that. But it's in my eyes, like I said, we're only talking about us. There's nothing wrong with getting, altering certain things that you are not comfortable with. But we have people doing it for everyone else. Where's the self-love? And I look at people who were raised in a two-parent home, and I look at people who were not, and it's a difference. I really do feel it's a difference. So that's why I bought that home piece in, because a girl's first love is always her dad.
That's very true.
It's always
very true. You have a
Unfortunately,
crush on your father.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he was not mine, right? However, I did not let that define me. But everyone isn't gonna push that to the side and say, you know what, I need to do this in spite of. You're gonna have some people who are suffering from childhood trauma, just so much. So that's why I gave it a 5.
And
So
like
as
I
I've been,
said, like go
go
ahead,
ahead,
George.
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, like what China said with the trauma, instead of us, like she says, if you don't come from that home, instead of us connecting with other women that do come from those homes, we like to connect with other women that have the same trauma as us, and we won't grow from it. And then a lot of the times, and even if you go back and on like school age, when you say certain things, children that come from different areas or different, like, let's say like the hood, the project, sometimes, they try to blame the other child that has a 2-parent home or their family has money. I'm like, you can't get mad at the child. You need to go home to your parents about what's going on. And they try to make the child that comes from a good home feel bad. And I feel like that's why a lot of kids nowadays, the rich ones want to be like the ones from the hood, and the ones from the hood, it's like vice versa. It wants to be different. Kids that are raised in the projects want to be like the rich kids, and the kids that come from the rich families want to go to the hoods and hang out.
So as I've been listening to,
so it's like
you, Go ahead, Zuri. You started to say something. I think there's a delay.
It had
I think,
stopped. I thought I said everything. I was.
yeah, it sounded like there was a delay or something. So, okay. You hear me now, Zuri?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, there's a delay.
I don't know. Did you hear the part about the trauma bonding with the sisters?
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Okay. And then I just said, is it my internet? Because it's like keep going slowing down or.
Yeah, it's something out there in the airwaves that we can't control. That's just part of it. Yes. So as I was listening to all of your very significant perspectives, I'm, typically I try to be more of a facilitator in these discussions, but I want to try to come from a male perspective in addressing what you all are saying. As a man, especially a man with the color of my skin, I can surely attest to you that we are under attack on a daily basis, individually and systemically. And that is not, when I say that, that is not meant to be used in any way as an excuse or justification for ineffective behavior. But in order to solve a problem, you have to recognize the problem and be able to identify what's contributing to the problem. And so as it pertains to trauma and relationships, the attack on the man is real. And as it pertains to our community in specific, it's 99% race driven. Race is declared a public health crisis across the country. It's no joke. It's real. Now, as a man, though, I can't sit comfortably and accept that that is my lot in life. Here's one of the obstacles to that, however, even though that's my attitude and I live that in the work that I do addressing mental health and race, I am not as afforded on a statistical level, I'm speaking generally now, the support from my female half in comparison to my other cultural groups. Because my female half is also traumatized. How can you all not be traumatized if your man is being traumatized? You can't separate the two. Often what happens when we ask these questions about, let a man be a man, let a woman be a woman, who's hurt this, who's that, hurts that, there'll be, well, sure, the man's hurt, but so are we. We shouldn't have to say that. We shouldn't have to clarify or qualify our assessments by saying, but so are we. I'm operating off of our African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because we are. So that means if I'm hurt, then you should naturally connect with that hurt. Even if you're not personally hurt yourself, the fact that I'm hurt should qualify enough for you to be hurt. And statistically speaking, when the male in any community is being attacked, it has direct impact on everything and everyone that male loves and touches. So we have to stop this Me Too type stuff. It's all in the same boat. Saying that, now this may sound chauvinistic, but I'm a man. I fully believe that the responsibility for the solution to the male and female dynamic in our community is the man's responsibility. The man should want it to be the responsibility, especially if the man claims to be the leader of his community, claims to be the leader of his family. Not to exclude the woman, because the man is more with his woman than he is without her. And often what happens is we try to do who's better, the man or the woman. And that's an ineffective paradigm. Male and female, it takes them both. So, but we keep trying to divide the quality of each and say, well, I'm okay by myself. I'm okay by myself. You know, I count more. I count more. We do these back and forth based on our experiences. But as the man feeling it's my responsibility, I need, and we need as men, our women to stop questioning us, to stop challenging us, to stop giving us resistance. Being a leader does not mean that I've got all the answers. Being a leader means I'm willing to go out and figure it out, even if I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So what does that require of the woman who's supporting me? Being willing to help support me in whatever I need to do to figure it out. But because our women have been traumatized, they're like, well, if you don't know, then I'm taking over. That tends to be what happens. Since you don't know, move over. I got this. And when I say this, it's not a criticism. It's because of our history. Our women have been conditioned to do that. Our women have been conditioned, it's mostly on a subconscious basis, to already hamstring the man in her community because either out of fear or out of lack of respect. Part of it is fear, because women in our generation have learned to teach their sons to not be aggressive, to not be overly intellectual or any of those things. Stay safe, be out of the way, don't get hurt. And it has a negative cycling effect of, because of that, he's useless. He's useless. He doesn't know how to do anything. He doesn't have the confidence really to do what he needs to do, because he hasn't been allowed to get out there and express his total masculinity for fear based on whatever mother's concerns were at the time. Not that they're not legitimate or realistic. It's just that's been our experience. So we really have a challenge here. And I'm speaking totally personally here. I feel that as the man, this is my responsibility. And it's in large part, as I said before, the primary reason why I'm doing the work that I'm doing from a mental health perspective. Because I'm the man. And I'm not going to accept second place. And I'm definitely not going to accept last place. But I can't do it by myself. And I can't do it with a queen who's going to question me. I can't do it with a queen who is going to expect perfection from me before she gives herself under my leadership. So I don't know if any of this is making sense. How is this hitting you? And then we'll close out, because I think this is going to move into some. We didn't even really get into the coddling piece. It's kind of, but we need to address that part, because the manhood aspect of this dynamic is extremely important. But what do you all have to say about my personal ranting here?
I agree with you. You hit the nail on the head with everything that you said, and I agree with everything what you said, and even like when you said about letting you lead, and that part and that made me think about when women say they coddle men. A lot of women coddle men instead of, like you said, letting them go out there and lead and find out and figure out on their own. Let me figure this out. I have this. And then also, like when you say there's a war against us, against our men in general, it's always been like that, and that they really want us separate because they know how powerful we are together. Yes, we're the most powerful people on the planet. Yes. So if they keep us apart, everything's good. But if we come together, we're unstoppable. And they don't want us to be unstoppable.
Yeah, the attack is real. And there's a reason, we don't talk about that enough. Why are they attacking the male in our community? I mean, because if we really were no count, why would they be spending that time? We would be in self-check. So why do they continually make systemic practices and policies that keep us consistently in every systemic aspect, from education, health, wealth, finance, you name it? The Black male is at the bottom of every qualitative life category. Why?
Because they know how powerful you guys really are. And if they keep majority of you guys sleep, they can keep going on with the agenda. But once the men start waking up, they know that it's game over. You guys are the most powerful man on the planet. And they know that, more powerful than, hate to say it, any other race. It's just the truth of the matter. And like I always tell people, you have to think, why do they keep us down? There's a reason for all of this. People, we really need to start looking into, why is it us and no other race?
Yes.
What do we have that they don't have? There's a lot of things that we have that they don't have, that'll never be revealed. So like say, us to man and woman together, very, very powerful. The family dynamics, all of that. And I said, I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you just said. Kind of gave me chills. So it's like very, it's heartfelt. It's very true. And I like to kind of hear that coming from Black men and speaking it and letting the women know, like, hey, this is what we need. Or if you guys do this, don't question us. We got it. We always had it. Just let us lead. And everything else will follow. Everything else will come in alignment.
China, your thoughts?
I agree. George, that's because you are a man's man, okay? We don't have those on every corner. That's the sad part. If we had those on every corner, we would not be in the shape that we're in. Men and women alike. That's the problem. If we could just duplicate you, we'll be all right. But since we can't, it's up to us to do the best we can with the people around us. It's up to us to ensure that, I'm going to be honest with you, I position myself around good, decent people. I position myself around good, decent men. So I really don't, have firsthand understanding now of the riffraff that's going on, because I'm not involved in that. I'm not involved in it. If it's not positive, if it's not motivating me, or if I'm not motivating you, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I definitely agree 100% with what you spoke about, and I really, really, really wish that we could just get more of that, because we have more of the foolishness.
Well, I was hoping that we get Dr. Holmes' perspective on that, and hopefully we'll do another show. And I'm going to ask her. We'll pick up right with that, because I definitely want to get a perspective on it. But she had to roll out. We have kind of gone over our time, but this was great discussion. I really love the perspectives that you all shared on that last question I asked you regarding the collective state of the women in our community. And I think your answers were they were probably the most important part of the show. And I hope people listen to this over and over and over, because identifying the issues is the first step in creating a solution. And I think all of you express those issues very effectively. So, each show, sometimes they have their own energy, their own path. This one, but either way, it always comes out very thought-provoking and genuine, and it's still always fun. This was good, but it's we're touching on a real issue that a podcast in and of itself isn't going to fix. But I think this conversation is part of the process. And I'm hoping that this show has tentacles of impact and stimulating other people's minds who may watch this and spend time with it. China, Zuri, Dr. Holmes, you are wonderful and talented as you are beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
I mean that sincerely. I love what Zuri said. You know, we can't all be super skinny and we can't all be thick, but what y'all can be is beautiful, and all of you are beautiful, inside and out.
Thank you.
Yes. So hey, this has been great. Thanks for hanging out. We didn't get many comments this week, but hopefully they will watch the show and put in their views. So I encourage you to do that, because we do watch. There's one that just popped up. Let me see. Okay. Rotunda said peace and love y'all. Okay. That'll work. So the show is getting a lot of attention. Our subscribers and viewers are increasing each week with each show. And I encourage you all, China and Zuri, to go back on these shows and read the comments and respond to them if you can, because they're doing it. They're getting involved, and this is good.
Awesome.
All right. Halfway through the first month of the new year. Have a great week. And until the next time we meet, we'll see you in the black space.